Thank you, pavement.
You say what? You don't have sound.
We don't have sound, sir.
Start all over. That's what he said.
Start all over for just advert. Give me and show people grace that day. And wow, God. I swear. And energy. Yeah, I go to outside pen and I think this feeling doesn't go out just because I feel so monitored lately. Like any small thing I'm uncomfortable. No, I'm saying it though. I'm saying it. If like
Way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers?
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical intelligence and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Amazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, and 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively.
To inform the misinformed and disinformed with undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Amazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Amazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
A very good day to you, Amazonians in the home front and in diaspora. Today is another day to draft. Today we draft for Ngoketunjia. How ready are we today? Now, before we get into the pre-draft show proper, we are here for the recap of the week. Remember what we say, the recap is major highlights from the week, just in case you missed the news from the week. Now, let's start with an overview of Ngoketunjia. I am Oni Opala, and Steph Smart is here as always. Good evening,
Good
Steph.
evening, Onyi. Well, as we plan to draft Ngoketunjia this weekend, it is important to remark that Ngoketunjia has made Ambazonians proud for a while now. When we think of FM Sagon, the Sagba incident of last year, and many different occasions that failed, Masha Sagon masterminds where the colonial army is met with huge losses, you can but say that this weekend today is worth preparing for, especially. Before we get into the details, well, let's get an overview of the county. Only, please.
Yes, Ngoketunjia is a county in the Midland zone of the former British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Now, it is a plain characterized by some isolated hills like Ngobi, amongst others. It is inhabited by semi-Bantu and Fulani people, and the indigenous traditions and cultures remain strong.
Now, Ngoketunjia consists of 13 villages. You can call some according to the interim government's geopolitical setup as local government areas, all of which start with Ba, denoting the people. Each of the villages has its own unique language, dialect, and traditions under the custodianship of a fawn or chief. As such, each of the villages is a fondom under a traditional ruler called the fawn. These villages are Babawan, Babesi, Babungo, Babalang, Balingashu, Balingasin, Bangolan, Bamesing, Bamunka, Bamali, Bamunkumbit, and Balikumbat.
Now, according to Free Encyclopedia of 2016, cultural tourism is a subsect of tourism concerned with the country's or region's culture, specifically the lifestyle of the people in specific geographical areas. For example, large cities and their cultural facilities, such as museums and theaters. It can also include tourism in rural areas, showcasing the traditions of the indigenous communities, festivals and rituals, their values, and of course, their lifestyle. Cultural tourism has been defined as the movement of people to cultural attractions away from their usual places of residence, with the intention to gather new information and experiences to satisfy their cultural needs. Hughes 1996 argues that cultural tourism tends to be applied to trips whenever cultural resources are visited, regardless of their initial motivation. Now, this term is limited by a failure to include entertainment. He classified those tourists who want to experience culture in the sense of a distinct way of life as ethnic tourists.
Ngoketunjia seems to be a cultural tourism location. The cultural tourism aspect or activities that are found in Ngoketunjia County are traditional crafts activities such as ironsmithing, wood carving, pottery work, weaving, museums, palaces, and annual cultural festivals. Examples of pottery works are found in Bamising and Babesi, Babunga Museum, Nikai and Nikia. Annual dances are performed in Babungo and Bamising respectively. Also, there is Leila Annual Cultural Festival of Bali Kumbat people. This study will be conducted in villages that possess resources for cultural tourism. Let's get into the recap proper. The Amber World Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers,
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence, and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
All right, so this week on Undaunted, we started with a report of students returning in Boyer, how they are now commercializing their rooms on holiday period. Now, it was a move to make some money to sustain their stay in Boyer during the next academic year. Now, students schooling and renting University of Boyer and other institutions of learning in Boyer are making use of their rents even when they are not around. Now, they put their rooms at the sum of 3,500 francs CFA per night. Now, many persons visiting Boyer now prefers to get connected to any of the students and get a room for 3,500 francs CFA per night than to go to the hotel, given that hotels in Boyer range as from 10,000 francs CFA. Now, it is win for someone to get a student's room because it's also very comfortable.
Now, the House slave to the Bafut Council has ordered shop owners of the Bafut main market to pay rent before August 25th, that has already passed 2022. Now, this was the subject of a request signed on the 5th of August 2022 by the mayor of Bafut Council, Ngwakongo Lawrence, by the requested House Mayor. He's requesting all occupants of shops at the Bafut Main Market to report to the council office with tenancy agreement for regularization and payment of rent. The request further states that the latest date to comply should be on August 25th, 2022. Bafut is one of the savannah states of southern Cameroon greatly affected by the war currently going on in southern Cameroon. Many youths have fled the atrocities of the colonial military of killing indiscriminately. Business is barely surviving, and yet this was what the mayor had to say, what he deemed fit to call the shop owners to pay the rent.
All right, we moved into the story of the house slave, that's Dr. Joseph Dion Gute, PM, to La Republic to Cameroon, how he has contracted the colonial president of the national coordinator of the presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of Southern Cameroon's PPRD, Paul Tazang, over remarks related to the impact of the ongoing conflict in Southern Cameroon's Amazonia on the tea sector. Now, Colonial Minister Paul Tazang, during a press conference after the fourth steering committee of the reconstruction plan last July declared that the tea sector has not been affected by the crisis that is already in its sixth year. Their declaration of Paul Tazang has left stakeholders in the tea sector and thousands of workers whose resources of livelihood has been crippled by the crisis perplexed. Now, the house slave, Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute, has come out to say partisan lied on the impact of the crisis on the tea sector. Now, speaking at the fourth committee meeting for the evaluation of the monologue called Major National Dialogue, the in-house slave, Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute, was categorical that the tea sector has been seriously affected by the armed conflict in the Anglophones region. Now, it should be recalled that Colonial President Paul Biya had, after observing the state of affairs of the crisis on the tea sector of southern Cameroons, orders forces of law to be permanently stationed in the various plantations and factories.
This move by the colonial ruler of La République du Cameroon, observers have noted, was a strong indication that he was fully aware that the sector is badly hit by the crisis and needed to be saved from completely crumbling. While the tea sector in southern Cameroon is badly hit by the ongoing crisis in southern Cameroon, Colonial Minister Paul Tassang says the tea sector is not affected. Many political analysts who refuse to be named have qualified Tassang's declaration as being myopic and ill-intentioned. To a Yaoundé-based political watcher who did not want to be named, Colonial Minister Paul Tassang's Austin indicates he is wholly ignorant about what is happening on the ground. This is what the person had to say. Undaunted gathered that thousands of those working at the sector who have lost their jobs as a result of insecurity are planning to petition the colonial ruler Paul Biya over what they term East Colonial Minister Paul Tassang's malicious, basis, and unfounded declaration.
All right, so we move to the Liberation War. And we're asking, and we asked this question during the week, will Brigadier General Ezom Vondo Simon succeed where others had woefully failed? Now, in one of their latest moves in delaying their coming to the Swiss-led mediation process, Paul Biya of genocidal junta via Brigadier General Ezom Vondo Simon has conceived and already implemented what we call counterintelligence gathering and strategy to fight the Amazonian Restoration Forces, that is the ARFs. Now, it was initially tested in Libelem with the assassination of Field Marshal of the then Red Dragon, Oliver Likiaka. Now, this Zom Vondo Simeon's project is about our children recruited from within our communities to be used to fight us. Now, it is noteworthy to add that they have been trained and deployed back in these communities, as earlier averred. Now, these recruitees came through thanks to Anglophone elites in Yaoundé. Now, since the La Republic of Cameroon had vowed to fight us via local government areas and counties, they made sure these boys and girls are our own who can easily mingle and speak our local languages. He has been recruited in Yaoundé, Douala, and other parts of La Republic du Cameroon. Now, those charged with the recruitment process were told to ensure that the recruitees are bona fide Amazonians, must know the nook and crannies of their villages, local government areas, and counties very well. They have been trained on counterintelligence gathering. Now, the question is, how are they going to work? They would infiltrate, gather information and strategies being used by the ARFs in fighting La Republic of Cameroon.
The President Samuel Ikome Sako emphasized that the Donga Matung is a strategic county. And this is the topic we had in our news bulletin this week, and a major gateway to La Republic du Cameroon economy reserves. Now, the president also stated that blacklegs like Ngala Gerald will face the full weight of justice. He emphasized that DMC Dongamatun County draft is special because it's the only way to enable the ARFs to defend her people. He also emphasized that the DMC draft is special because of the connection of Nigeria and La Republique du Cameroon. All counties should support DMC in their weak draft was what he also said in his record. And the president encouraged the ARFs to double up their efforts, emphasized that they are the lion of the jungle, appreciated their intelligent capacity so far. And he also asked to find out how long it would take to find a spy around them. Well, here's a video of the president's speech on this.
Genocide facilitators like Ngala Gerard, he's co-conspirators resident in the United States and others being used by the colonial regime in Yaoundé to massacre our people will surely face the wrath of Amazonia and the full weight of justice when the time comes, and that is not far away. Therefore, today's draft is special because of the necessity to unclamp the stranglehold of the colonial regime and her military in the county of Dogaman and take total control of important gateways to Amazonia on all sides. Today's draft is special because it is the only way we can enable our ARFs in Dongamanton County to protect the vulnerable people of this important county who have suffered enormously from the organized barbarism of Paul Biya's genocidal regime through numerous massacres and burning of villages and settlements. Today's draft is also special because we have to respond to the rising phenomenon of cross-border importation of mercenaries from neighboring Nigeria by desperados, desperate La République du Cameroon's gangster regime. These are coming in disguised as Fulani headsmen to massacre our innocent Amazonian citizens. So liberating Dogamanton is a must for strategic reasons, for the safety of our people and their property and cattle in that entire zone. Thank you, brave compatriots. I want to encourage you and all our ARFs not to be scared by enemy propaganda, using scare tactics to cow you to a corner. You are the lions of this jungle. All you need is vigilance and discipline. Your intelligence network is your first firewall. I think even though we have announced it, La République cannot find 1,000 foolish Amazonians today to recruit, train, and send into the heart of the battlefront to carry out their dirty work. If that's what they wanted to do, they would have recruited more from their failed DDR program. Whatever the case, how long do you think it will take for you to find a spy amongst you?
All right, now to the next story. PSS Macon has suffered yet another arson barely days till the resumption of a new academic year. The boys' dormitory of PSS Macon has been burnt down in the night of August 21st, 2 a.m. Monday, 22nd August 2022. The campus of PSS Macon was invaded by strange armed men who, on arrival, started shooting, moving around the campus, and finally setting the Form 5 boys' dormitory on fire. As the armed men left the campus, the school authorities hurriedly informed the Colonial Army Rescue Unit, who mobilized to save the building. Now, unfortunately, the roof and walls of the building had already given way. The Army Rescue Unit prevented the fire from crossing over to other dormitories. Nobody or group of persons have claimed responsibility for this act. And this is the third time the school has come under arson attack after it was previously attacked on the 22nd and 23rd of January 2021. Now, the moderator of the PCC still to issue a statement on the incident, while administrative authorities are carrying out an assessment of the damage during this fire. Now, PSS Macon scored 100% in both the GCE ordinary and advanced level during the just ended academic year. It should be recalled as well that after the Ngarabo massacre, the military never claimed responsibility of that atrocity, and we are only proven guilty after an investigation was carried out. Now, the Ngarabo massacre took place in a village in the Savannah state of southern Cameroon on the 14th day of February 2020 and resulted in the murder of 21 civilians, including 13 children by Cameroonian soldiers and armed Fulani militia. Now, can this arson on PSS Macon be a replay of the Ngarabo massacre incident? We will only wait and see.
Okay, now to the next story of the week. Christians of PC Kumba were bewildered in the early hours of August 21st, 2022, as they got up to see the church gate sealed with fetish substances. The Presbyterian Church in Kumba, an equatorial state of southern Cameroon, for months today were plunged into crisis as some aggrieved members called for the departure of the parish pastor and her associates. This is the second time that the fetish objects are being used to seal the church entrance. When it happened the first time some weeks back, the fetish objects were only removed by the chairman of the Kumba Traditional Council upon invitation by the parish pastor. The fetish objects consist of some dead chickens and terms.
All right, the colonial ruler of La Republic du Cameroon, Paul Biya, on Wednesday, August 17, 2022, signed a decree creating a National Sports Facilities and Equipment Development Board. Now, this board is charged with the responsibility of ensuring the upkeep, safeguard, and the development of sports infrastructure constructed by La Republic du Cameroon. Now, this decision is coming at a time football lovers of the southern Cameroon's region, Savannah region, and the Midland region have clamored for a stadium to no avail. What still, the lone existing Bamenda Municipal Stadium was rendered not fit for use by La Republic du Cameroon. Now, the project to rehabilitate the field was abandoned without any reason advanced for. The abandonment came only after the pitch was dug and rendered useless by the construction company. Football lovers in southern Cameroon said the decree of the colonial ruler Paul Biya as a move to protect the institutions in La Republique du Cameroon and not the southern Cameroons. The current holder of the Cup of Cameroon is a team based in Bamenda, chief town of Midland region of Savannah, Cameroon, but paradoxically, this region is not having any football field. The lack of football field for the youths of southern Cameroon to develop their talents is increasingly killing the spirit of playing football in most talents.
Now, on to the CDC story from this week. Thousands of workers of the Cameroon Development Corporation, the CDC, the country's second largest employer, have entered the 30th month without payment. 30th month, not day. These disgruntled workers have decried that what their terms is the insensitivity of the state to their plight due to the backlog of unpaid wages and some other benefits. CDC is a company run by the colonial La Republique du Cameroon, and for 30 months and counting, is unable to pay wages of thousands of her employees. The workers are appealing to the colonial Yaoundé regime to devise a means of getting money to offset the over 2 years owed salaries, allowances, and other entitlements so as to reduce the agony and suffering they endured since 2018. These frustrated workers said children are at risk of not going to school as the academic year begins in less than 2 weeks from when it was said. They equally accused management for prioritizing contractors' bill, ignoring plight of workers. Now, to compel the colonial government of Port to address their worries, the unpaid workers of CDC reiterated plan to embark on an indefinite strike come September 1st, 2022.
Now, in November 2019, the colonial regime of Paul Biya under pressure convened the so-called major national dialogue that many political analysts qualified as a monologue. Now, the fact that since 2019, after the so-called major national dialogue was held, the war in southern Cameroon is not yet abated is a proof that it was a non-event. Now, the international communities and some human rights groups have been calling for the Yaoundé regime to convene a genuine and inclusive dialogue, and the colonial regime of La Republique du Cameroon is still adamant to. Now, this time around, there are the bishops who are calling on the Yaoundé regime to organize a more inclusive dialogue to end the war in southern Cameroon. Now, the question is, why is the colonial regime of Paul Biya hesitate to organizing a more inclusive dialogue? Now, the bishops of the Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference in their 37th ordinary meeting in Boyer have repeatedly called for a fresh dialogue to end the Anglophone crisis. What do they call fresh dialogue? That's a critical question. We thought there is the Swiss-led mediation, which is paramount and genuine to Amazonians. Why avoid this part? Now, it only indicates unseriousness on the side of the initiators. That's if you agree with us. Now, this call came as the bishops were meeting to reflect on the pastoral and challenges that have affected the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda. Now, the BAPEC is made up of dioceses of Bamenda, Boya, Jumbo, Manfei, and Kumbar. Now, coming from the bishops' representatives of sacred institutions, will the colonial ruler Paul Biya come out of this rigid military option? Well, we are waiting to see.
Speaking of the colonial government, in the course of the week, we talked about um, La Republic du Cameroon. It is evident that the colonial government of La Republic du Cameroon is failing in her responsibility to fulfill the engagement with teachers. To compel this colonial government to pay their dues, teachers announced a planned strike action. Nothing, as in nothing, can come out of the colonial regime of Paul Biya without the beneficiary fighting for it. Without pressure, that which is normal with other governments cannot be done by the La Republic du Cameroon's Biya regime. Why must there be a strike action for the colonial government of Paul Biya to take appropriate actions? A letter dated 19th August, signed by the Colonial Minister of Secondary Education and addressed to all leaders of Teachers Union, has been revealed. In the letter, the colonial government, through the in-house Nalova Lyonga, is trying to diffuse a movement that could compromise the next school year, scheduled for 5th September.
All right, meanwhile, according to reports by Kemi Ashu last night, General Viper has caused untold damage to the colonial neighboring La Republic du Cameroon military in Nama. Now, claims that at least 6 colonial thugs went 6 feet, and you agree with me that that's a great news. Now, indeed, it's wonderful. Nama is in Bui County, but we thought that the collaboration that exists between General Viper and FM Sagon along that stretch of road from Ngoketunjia to Bui is worth mentioning. Now, let's watch the harvest that came out from this particular encounter.
Yes. Today, 24th August 2022, na ambush unit for Wainamaso. Don't go attack that Kelvin for brigade. They come around all. They come around all. Yes, we will get their chop. Deal with pa. I say, pa, don't disappoint we. Pa, don't disappoint we. Some kind way we will not really expect. Yes. Now, General Viper. General Fire.
Today,
Colonel Breeze, Captain Parambon. Commander Shoka.
alias
Yes.
Lasbo,
Alias Lastborn.
a day,
Yes. Now this court. Yes, we Commander Abdullah. We Colonel Tristar.
today,
Yes. Now we don't go for Jackie so.
Check no day.
You know he's over there now so.
There is see all of a day. They see all of a
Yes.
day now so.
Check no day.
Yes, yes.
All right, and with that report, we'll wrap up our recap stories from the week. Now, these are fresh stories. We should have left it till Monday's Undaunted, but no, we thought that it's necessary to bring it to you as fresh as it is. Now, we have this report that handpicked Burmese, of course. Probably they've been given monies and all of that. They can also be called CPDM black legs. In Bamenda are purportedly seeking to protest their businesses. Now, this is shocking. This is really, really shocking. And we have some reactions.
Yeah.
This is Tapadi's reaction, and this is how he has reacted to this. He says in his words, he says, I am aware the colonial administration will not allow this to be part of school's curriculum, but maybe these black legs enablers should be informed that is Southern Cameroon's Cameroon Bank, brought into the failed union by the head of state of the former British Southern Cameroon's now Amazonia, John Ngoketunjia, who was intentionally destroyed by the Yaoundé juntas for a reason only God knows. Now, be informed that this bank was a major economic booster in the two Cameroons and the main influencer of small businesses. In fact, La Republic du Cameroon didn't have a sustainable framework to enable bank loans to start up. How did this end?
Now, our news director continued to say in his post that where's the Southern Cameroon's marketing board? Where's the Toya Tea Estate? What happened to roads? Now worse than before. How do we explain the outlook of the two Cameroons today, considering the fact that at least 60% of natural resources revenue in both Cameroons comes from Southern Cameroon's Amazonia? Well, Be hashtag advised that as you choose self in a bid to protect your small businesses over Southern Cameroon's territorial sovereignty and national integrity, cognizant of the 45,000 lives lost and the stakes involved, you are merely positioning yourself as a military target. La République du Cameroon's BIRs will use you as specimens for their evil mechanizations. They will try, as always, to blame it on the Amber Boys, but you will have yourself to blame. A wise business owner should be thinking big, considering the macroeconomy, sustainability, and future. A sensible business owner should know that small gains in a porous system will shrink in no distant time. An honest business owner will not put his or her small business ahead of a people's God given right to self determination. Now, he concludes by saying, hashtag evil is a seed. Every seed you plant, be ready for the harvest. He ends with his words, I rest my case.
All right. It was not only Mr. Tapa, the king, that responded. Kemi Ashu also responded, and we got her reaction. And she says that imported Mboada people from neighboring La Republic, the Cameroon, French Cameroon, are paid to come and set confusion in our country, giving up all the shares in the market were owned by Amazonians and a few Nigerians. Says these shades have been all bed confiscated and handed to these froggish people. Says now these imposters who contribute money for La Republic to kill us come out to protect their businesses by asking for ghost towns to stop. She goes on to say, we say never, we shall see who owns the land.
Now, her post continues to say, as the September UN session approaches, demonic La République du Cameroon is doing all to try and end the war. Chris Anna said the war will end in September. They want schools to go back. They hate organizing their shams election same week the session starts, etc. So Amazonian lives don't matter, only businesses doomed. We will fight till we are free. She ends with hashtag drafting Ngoketunjia, hashtag ghost towns till independence, hashtag Amazonia must be free.
All right. In the midst of all of these news stories popping in right now, of course, what we are here for today. We are here for Ngoketunjia draft. All right. So we have some representatives from Ngoketunjia who are ready to give us some pre-draft show. We also have Mr. Tapa the King at the other end. But just because of the let's should we say this is very sensitive, yes, so we may want to get the reaction of probably Dr. Martin Mungwa, who is also here in the studio. Probably want to get his reaction to these paid protests that we have just given you some information about. Then Mr. Ta can go on with the pre-draft show from there, but would want to get the thought of Dr. Martin Mungwa as the Secretary of State for Communication and IT on this particular event.
Yeah, good evening, fellow Amazonians. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Undaunted, congratulations for that great recap. Fellow Amazonians, we are actually broadcasting this special Ngoketunjia draft, pre-draft show from our two studios. We're broadcasting from Studio One, and in fact Studio One, which is Washington, and Studio Two, and you have the ladies are connecting to us from Studio Two right now. Dr. Mungwa is seated in his office. Dr. Ndula is seated in their offices. These are all sons of Ngoketunjia. And like Okpala mentioned earlier on, we are supposed to start by reacting to this sensitive issue. I had the opportunity to discuss with Dr. Martin Mungwa earlier on, Secretary of State for Communications of Secretary of State for Communications and IT of the interim government. He will be talking, first of all, to give government perspective when such things happened, and then also to talk to us about why it is imperative that we take such things to enhance the draft that has proven to be the only successful thing, the only thing that restores the integrity of the peoples of Amazonia, even as we speak. So without any waste of your time, I understand you've been waiting for like 30 minutes to watch the recap. We wanted to refresh your minds on the issues that took place this week before we plunge into this very important exercise for the peoples of Amazonia. Without any waste of your time, I will be bringing in Dr. Mungwa right now. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Good evening, Paddy, and good day to all Amazonians, and welcome to this program. Today is the Ngoketunjia draft, and I hope that within the next hour, we are going to have a lot of people who are going to join us for this wonderful occasion. Now, let me go to the subject. The protest in Bamenda for businesses open. Amazonians, this is a very, very important information I'm going to give you. It's much wider than just people going on the streets for businesses to open. It goes all the way to the instructions that have been given to the BIA government on investment, on how to ensure that. Let me give you a little bit about the whole picture, because this is not just Amazonia, it's the entire La Republique, and they want to engulf us in the problems that they've created for themselves in the past 10 years or so. In order for any economy to thrive, you need consumer spending, you need investment, you need government investments, and government spending and net exports. So the whole idea about trying to revive the economy is only to make sure that they have consumer spending in place. Because without consumer spending, without investment, and without government consumption, there will be nothing to export. On the other side of it, you've heard a minister talking about, I think I read it yesterday, breaking news, they want to open the the Victoria Seaport. This is a big joke. And why is it so? If you take Kribi has about 100,000 tons of capacity. It works, I think it operates at 10% its capacity, and it has a yearly profit of 3.8 billion francs CFA. You have Douala. Remember, Kribi is about, 5 to 10 years old. You have the Douala seaport, which is 140 years old, and it brings in a profit of about 9.8 billion francs CFA. And now you want to create another port in Victoria with a capacity of 100,000 tons. So you spend all your money importing. We create seaports so that we can have consumer spending, we can have investment internally, so you can have value-added products, and then those products will be exported in order to have reserves for you to be able to import materials. But we are all putting this sort of theater to give the impression that we are going to import. You are going to import what? What money do you have to import? This is a gimmick. And let Amazonians not be fooled. As early as yesterday, BIA has announced that Cameroon plans to cancel agreements for projects with abnormally long turnaround times. What does that mean? I think the World Bank has discovered that when projects have long turnarounds, it gives the opportunity for government officials to steal that money and invest them elsewhere. So the World Bank will only be ready to fund projects that short lead time so that they can track the finance, which now puts the Biya junta in a very, very difficult situation, because that's how they've been manipulating the economy, stealing money and funding this war against us. So the World Bank has brought a little mechanism to make sure that projects have very short schedules so that they can be properly tracked. And now he goes out and talks about the Victoria Seaport. It is not going to happen. Let people not be fooled. They just want to put it on paper to give you the impression that they want to open a seaport in Victoria. Nothing is going to happen because we don't have the money to import. In fact, the touchline, if I can put it that way, is that Nigeria is about to build a 10 billion ton seaport in Bakassi on the site of Nigeria. That makes irrelevant anything that we want to build on the Ambazonian side or La Republique side. That will bring us to, I mean, they will literally eat our lunch. And these fellas, so-called trained in Enam, they go out telling Ambazonians, oh, we are going to have a seaport in Victoria, we are going to have whatever in Tico, and so on and so forth. What for? Where is the internal production? You have to be able to have a strong manufacturing base so that you can have value-added products, and then you can export in order to get hard currency. So we are all creating all these ports all over the place just to import. Import based on what? Selling what? Selling bubbler? This is the mind of beer. These people are mad. They have no idea on how an economy is built. Every developed country started by investment, started consumer spending, investment, government spending, so that you can create value added within the country. And then when you export, you can have excess cash coming into your country. And you can use that to import whatever materials you don't have. But what is La Republique doing? They just want to tell people that we want to create seaports. Kribi is operating at 10% capacity. Why do you need another seaport? What is it for? 10% capacity. You explain to me. So the idea about people going on the streets in Bamenda is to create this consumer spending so that people have to start spending. But you all understand this Bamini case who have come over and inherited our property is all about themselves. These are scavengers. These are scavengers. Look at the state of the roads. For the past 60 years, have they ever complained about it? But they will come silently and steal whatever efforts that we've put in place and take the money away. Don't be surprised tomorrow they'll come to you and say, oh, we are all the same people. We come from the grasslands and so on and so forth. These are not people to be trusted, because you only know your friend when you are in trouble. But look at what they're doing. They're doing everything to revive the economy so that they can take whatever is left of it. Let Ambazonians not be fooled. We know what is happening. This is the push from the World Bank. And Bia thinks that the internal government is not aware of it. We have all that information. Our intelligence unit has been able to diagnose exactly what is happening on the ground, and we are well aware. And let Ambazonians not be fooled. It's not going to work. Over to you, Paddy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mungo. I would have put you on my side on site, but it seemed we're having some technical issues there. I believe you're listening to me, so that I could have interjected to see what you are to talk on something you mentioned. You're talking about, you've just said some elements which I wouldn't really want us to expand. Ambazonians, you're watching, you ensure that we will expand on this on Tuesday. But you've said something very vital, which I think we need, and I want to recap on it. You're talking about their objectives are not economical, they are mostly political. Dr. Tom Dola is here to also speak on behalf of the draft. But this is the reason why we draft. And you will permit me, Dr. Tom Dola, you're a very patient person. Thank you for being patient. Let the SOS for communication expand a little bit more on this. It's vital. Amazonians are excited to hear more. Their objective, insinuating whatever second pole, linking Bota, whatever, all the poles there, is something for 60 years they have deprived of us from having. We have the deep sea, and Douala doesn't have a deep sea. And now they are purporting now in paper that they want to start something, maybe to ambush our quest for freedom. I guess that should probably be the objective. Speak to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a gimmick. It's not going to work. It cannot work. Economically, it cannot work. Why do we need 3 seaports? Why? Kribi is actually operating at 10% capacity with a yearly profit of 3.8 billion francs CFA. Douala is probably operating at, I don't know, 40%. 140 years old. And it's making 9.8 billion CFA francs a year. And the sum total is about 13 billion CFA francs a year. And you want to open a third to import what? And Nigeria is about to build a 1 billion ton capacity in Bakassi. That will make ours totally irrelevant. Who are you going to service? Let those so-called strategists in La Republique tell me what they learned in Enam. Let Paul Tasson come and tell us how this is going to work. Why we need a third seaport, and at the same time we have no internal productivity. There is nothing produced internally with value added. This is what I want to tell Ambassador. This is a gimmick. And Bia has been told that he should cancel all agreements or projects with abnormally long turnaround times. This is it. Signed on the 26th of August, 2022. And now they come out and tell us that they want to build a seaport. You think a seaport is built in a day? All those roads that are long turnaround, they'll be cancelled. Since 1975, they promised a ring road. Do you know the amount of money that has been invested in the ring road and yet there has been no road? They all have to be cancelled. Let Ambazonians be educated about this. So they want to restart the economy in Bamenda in order to jumpstart consumer spending. So that they can say, oh, the amount of consumption has gone up, and so blah, blah, blah. We are going to invest, and when we invest, then we have government spending. The only thing that's helping us is government spending because they're funding the war. What exports do we have? Export bubble up? That's a gimmick. Nobody should believe it. For those who have started dancing in squares, thinking that something wonderful is going to happen in Victoria, I just want to let you know that these are the facts. Nothing is going to happen in Victoria. No seaport, because there are no exports. There are no industries. We don't build seaports for the sake of building them. You have to pay back the loan. And you can only pay back the loan if you have value-added products that have to be exported. And in course of exportation, you create more wealth and you can pay those who loan you the money. It just makes sense. La Republique wants to use that. When the money comes, they all swindle it as they've done in the past. And there's a list of them. You would have expected that in a country of law, when that list is out, they will send all their investigative police or whatever to get these people so that they return the money. No, they celebrate in courthouses with champagne. And you think that...
Thank you very much, Dr. Mungwa. Right now, I'm going to come back to you and we'll expand a little bit. We'll get back into Undaunted in the next minute or so they can get to ask some questions as we develop this discussion. And we're doing some presets so all of us can get on the screen in a few minutes. Dr. Tom Dola is the vice chair. I hope I'm not mistaken. He will correct me on that. He's a very nice person with a soft and beautiful smile, very humble, very respectful. I have never heard him. Some of you know, you already know him. The ladies with Undaunted will be talking to him, I think, for the first time. I have never heard him spoken to anybody with arrogance, and he is from Ngoketunjia. It's important today for ABC Amber TV that we are participating to draft Ngoketunjia. The ladies earlier on gave to us an overview of what Ngoketunjia is. Now, what this draft of today means to you as a vice chair of Ethics Commission, Dr. Tom Dola, is what we want to know at this time. Thank you and welcome to ABC Studios.
Thank you, Paddy. Thank you. Welcome, fellow Ambazonians, to this very important show. And first of all, a special salute to our brave and selfless Ambazonia Restoration Forces, who for years have been drafting with their very lives, with their blood, for our independence. And now it is our turn, for us mainly in the diaspora, to draft, to give the little we have, so as to help them finish the job, so as to make Boya real for all of us very soon. We are at a very, very critical juncture in our independence quest. Never has a generation of Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, been so close to the independence that was promised us in April 1961, that we will have it on 1st October 1961, and stolen from us shortly before that through the connivance of France, Britain, La République du Cameroon, who, by the way, voted against it in April 1961. So here we are today after having restored our independence in October 2017 by our former president, Sisiko Ayuk Tabe, who is now languishing in their dungeons they call prison in Kondengi. And so we are here today, as other counties have done before us and other departments, to draft, to help our restoration fighters finish the job, to put good materials into their hands, to help them stay alive and do the job the way they have been doing it, and even better, to help our refugees in their hundreds of thousands in neighboring Nigeria, in Ghana, and dotted all over the world of late. There was a conference here in Cyprus where we have many Ambazonian refugees also, organized by the EU, IG officials, to help them. And that was a wonderful job under the leadership of Rachel, Tima, and other key Ambazonians who were there. A big shout out to them and thank you. So what we are here to do today is to draft for Ngoketunjia, a county that has been hard hit by La République du Cameroon. Not only that, but we have some enablers amongst us, masked as Ambazonia Restoration Forces, claiming they want some sort of unity, whereas we already have that unity among all our ARFs in all our 61 LGAs and our 13 counties, under the leadership of the one legitimate people's interim government headed by President Samuel Ikome Sako. That is the unity that Ambazonia has had, the best unity and the only viable one Amazonia has had since 1961, since that our independence was promised us and denied and stolen from us shortly before that time. There have been factions and groups for over decades, but only now is there an interim government starting from SCACUF, starting from the governing council headed by former President Sisuku Ayub Tabe, and now the People's Interim Government headed by President Sako. So we have that unity, and we urge all our restoration forces to be fighting under one banner, under one chain of command, ending at the door of President Sako, the commander-in-chief, the only commander-in-chief that is there. So we are here to draft today to help you people, to help our refugees, help our prisoners who languish in concentration camps, they call prisons in La Republique, and to help all the rape victims, the widows and the orphans. So come draft from Ngoketunjia today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tom Dula, with your wonderful and soft smile. We also have Peter Ndula. He's not on set with us today. The name, it seems to people, maybe is it just from Ngoketunjia or you're from a family? He is a very humble and very soft-spoken person with a small voice, is a voice like a pilot, like the SOS. You know, the SOS speaks like a pilot sometimes. Uh, if you enter a plane and you hear a pilot is talking, and then you know that Dr. Mungwa is speaking a soft, sweet, good English. What really interests me in all about it is that Peter Ndola is a very polite person. He's in the board. I know when I'm always in the board and I have to answer questions for Undaunted and the newsroom and the TV. He comes up with his points and very soft, and you just want to listen to him. And you have that same attitude of talking soft and beautiful. I'm just highlighting that to make Amazonians understand the kind of stakeholders we're working with. These are all responsible men and women. They are people who have good families and they're running their families responsibly. They come from Ngoketunjia. They have made it in the diaspora. They are people that make several thousands of US dollars and in euros every year. They really have nothing to say in their particular families, individual families, nothing to lose if if they lose the war, if the war in Amazonia is lost. But they feel that they will have to fight for maybe their progenies and for the nations to come. And that alone explains to us how important this draft is for them. Dr. Mungwa, as Secretary of State for Communication, pumps in thousands of dollars in this struggle yearly. Dr. Dula, as Vice Chair for the Ethics Commission, does same. And if you hear Peter Ndula as a part of the board, but board members means givers of money. We don't have shareholders. They are in the board because they give their money so that this TV can succeed. And then you have our wonderful chair of the board who fought so hard to make sure that Coopers do not take hostage our television. I'm talking about Chairman Tumenta Amos. I wish I can be able to connect him. He's currently trying to log on and make sure that people that are coming to give money from Ngoketunjia today are on the Zoom. I spoke with him earlier on. He really didn't want to come. I wish Amazonians would see his face. Some might know him. That's a man who doesn't sleep. In my night, which is his day, we talk every time. He's working to make sure that every county succeeds with ABC Amber TV streaming. And today we are drafting his county. That's very important. SOS, I know you are eager for us to come back. You want us to come back to that discussion, which is your playground. You understand it better than any Amazonian I know now. You understand it from a technical perspective, with all the dressing you have as an engineer, as a civil engineer. When you listen to some of those things, you're not listening as a novice. Please, I want you to talk a little bit more about it because it gives a reason why we as Amazonians would have to draft and to draft. Talk a little bit more about the gimmick, what is happening now with Cameroon manipulating, purportedly trying to do things And you interestingly told us what Nigeria is going to be investing in Bakassi. That's being proactive. While Cameroon is viciously trying to manipulate our people so that we can stay under the Franco-Cameroon hegemony, Nigeria is proactively making gains economically. Enforce on that a little bit more, please.
Okay. Okay. Thanks again for bringing me on. Another very important piece of information, uh, we just got into our our mailbox. Um, Cameroon, 11 years later, the Limbe was Victoria, as we know it. The Victoria oil yard is only 54% complete. Another one of those white elephant uh, uh, projects. The Victoria Petroleum Yard is project was set up in 2001. Its financing was completed in 2003, 19 years ago. Work began and was supposed to finish in 2006. We are in 2022, 54% complete. That is information for Ambazonians to consume. This is the gimmick, this is the caricature of the so-called La Republic government. When we tell you, I think somebody mentioned it, is it Dr. Isomba, that the people in power are not economists. You think he was joking? You call people like Dion Gute, Paul Tasson, they are the great economic minds that they have to pull this country forward. I don't want to talk about personalities, but knowing very well that Paul Tasson went to Enam when John Gute was the managing director of that institution. You can imagine what sort of transactions took place, without people knowing. I'm not going to guess what it was, but that is La Republique for you. Transactional leadership. And now they're on opposite camps, fighting to outsmart each other. The race of idiots, if you can put it that way. One supporting Chris Anu, the other one supporting Marianta. These are people who used to be friends. But now, each one wants to outsmart the other so that Bia can say, oh, you are the next guy to be prime minister. I'm sure Tasson wants to be prime minister. And for those who know his background, it will be a tragedy. These are the facts. But that's La Republique economy for you. They don't see beyond their little tribal holes. They don't know that the Gulf of Guinea is a region. They never look beyond their borders. What is Nigeria doing? What is Gabon doing? What is Congo doing? How can we strategize? No. They all have to be running in squares along their tribe. Oh, we are going to build a Victoria seaport. Oh, Victoria, let Bakwere people ask them, what are you going to export from Victoria? Tell us. The CDC is down. Everything about the CDC is down. The tea plantation is down. We don't manufacture anything. What are you going to export? Please answer us, Ambazonians. You will spend money you don't have to import what? Import champagne from France? That's very likely it's going to be on the agenda. Import foie gras from France? Import what else? This is an insult to the intelligence of educated Ambazonians. You don't create white elephants. We've known this since the 60s. We have to go for sustainable development. Participation of the community and using materials and processes that are familiar to that community. That is the economy that the SACO government is going to put into place. Ambazonians have to understand this. I hope very later tonight, we are going to talk about the specifics of Ngoketunjia. And we will tell you what we know about Ngoketunjia. The Upper Non Valley, it is called technically. There are problems there. And I'm going to talk about them so that you people understand where we find ourselves. From the false study that was carried out for the Bamijin Dam, people did not know that the studies were false. We're supposed to have 323 square kilometers of so much land. It turned out to be 440, 30% increase. And the people who were most affected were the people from Bambalan. We are going to go into the facts tonight and let Amazonians open their ears and learn. This is not a joke. It's critical. And education is key. Over to you, Paddy.
Yeah, I want to apologize for that. I'm trying to liaise with the two studios now. I just realized connectivity is a challenge somewhere here, but that is going to be fixed before we get into the climax of the discussion. Yes, Dr. Tom, your Dr. Ndula, you're going to be filling in the gap as the SOS concentrates on the things affecting us politically and generally. You've just heard what the SOS told us about the Birmingham Dam. I went and I think that was calculated because I am a student of this struggle and I went for to do a research to find out more about Birmingham Dam. And I realized that very little has been documented either by the, uh, the academia in Cameroon. Because when I do a research, I want to find out what is the academia in Cameroon documenting when it comes to the people and their cultures and their environment and their inheritance and their resources. And you always get a twist. But the Birmingham Dam there was very little information in any way found within the Cameroons. Now I got information from an American university. None of the universities in Cameroon, none of the professors in Cameroon have taken out time to document anything about the Bamijin Dam and anything. You see what I'm talking about, Dr. Mungwa? This is quite critical. Now, you want to say something? You want to say something about
Yes,
that?
absolutely.
Please say it. Then Dr. Ndula, you come in and let's have a discussion on that. Please go ahead. Go ahead, SOS.
Fellow Amazonians, I wish to inform you that one of the top scholars who has written elaborately on the Bamajin Dam is not only an Amazonian, he's also from Ngoketunjia. And he's a professor at Penn State University.
That is where I got information because the problem is such a rich inheritance, something that a country should be proud of. Why is it excluded in the archives of the Cameroon's academia? That's a concern, sir. Go ahead.
So, Professor B, who is an associate professor at Penn State University, a very young man, very bright, he's somebody who grew up in Dub. So it's his backyard. It's not, it's not strange to our environment. He has documented exactly what has become of the consequences of the Birmingham Dam. And hopefully, with his permission, I'm going to read an excellent article that he wrote so that we can all share his knowledge. It reads: the feasibility study and subsequent construction of the Birmingham Reservoir started in 1971 to hold back the Noun River and its braided tributary in the upper Noun Valley floodplain, commonly referred to as the Ndop floodplain. In 1975, the construction was completed across the Noun River. This was one of the first major rural development projects in West Cameroon during the second five-year development plan of 1966 to 1971, which was geared towards the economic development of Cameroon through industrial growth, rural electrification, water shortage and agricultural projects. After its completion, the dam secured more than 442 square kilometers of rural land in the upper Nun Valley. Before construction of the dam, the Nun River and its braided tributaries meandered in the North Plain, forming an extensive wetland ecosystem characterized by freshwater marshes and seasonal flood swamps. The reservoir totally transformed the wetland ecology and the rural landscape and increased land use of conflicts within rural communities in the UNV. The dam was constructed primarily to hold back water and increase the volume of water downstream at the Adair during the period during the dry periods in order to generate hydroelectric power for the nation's power supply. But you all realize that the construction of that dam created a lot of ecological issues. First, they destroyed thousands of hectares of forest. They also made looking for clean water almost impossible to get. I come from Bambala. And many people actually drink the water directly from the lake, which is highly contaminated. They don't have any floodgates to regulate that water. And even navigation systems have not been developed. You have high unemployment. You have increased population. And the farmer-grazier conflicts actually increases because a lot of that farmland was submerged. And most of the villages, 13 villages, most of the villages that were affected in this area, I think Bambalan came on top of it. And they even have statistics of what happened. We're able to show that the number of people who were directly affected were about 402 in Bambalan, which is almost a quarter of the total of 1,019. Number of houses totaling over 400 houses that were affected. So if you look at the environmental consequences of this dam, you realize that this was not well thought through. Because even the fact that they provide increased head to a dare, the people around do not even have electricity since 1975. Over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Tom Dula, please. I know you have something to say about that. Go ahead. You're muted. Your sound is muted, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Adi. Yes, Dr. Mungwa, thank you for all that. You nailed it on the head. I mean, just in one sentence, our union with La République, our fake union, fake marriage, was doomed to failure right at the beginning. It started with treasury, with independence being promised us on 1st October 1961. And a few days before, our police force, our parliament was ramshackled. Our police force was taken over by force. We were practically annexed. And on that day, where they said independence by joining La République du Cameroon, where our forefathers were fooled with the usual sweet French words promising an equal union and a union between two equal states. None of that was to happen. Only a Federal Republic of Cameroon on paper, made by French Cameroon, by La République du Cameroon. One-sided treaty was made. So there has been protests and problems up till now. So starting from that, you see everything that is about them is mostly lies. 1st of January 1960, which is their day of independence. None of them, practically, hardly any of them knows that that is their day of independence. And then many fake days which are there being put forward to be celebrated, 11 February, 20th May, whatever. And so it is no surprise that all these things you talked about, they are hardly known by our people there. We were brainwashed and fed from primary school to secondary school to university with junks of lies about how our nation was. Hardly anybody knew there was once some southern Cameroons having independent, having free and fair democratic elections before 1960 even, and our first Prime Minister, Ndele, lost the election to John Ngufoncha, who took over, and the ceremony was presided over by none other than the first president of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And we had Prime Minister Joa afterwards, and then came one puppet Prime Minister appointed by La Republique. So all those things, we never knew about them. You never see them in history books anywhere. I used to argue with some La Republique people, some Bamileke people. They will say, oh, well, I mean, that thing is not possible, this and that. This is your independence quest. You know, it is stated in the books that this and that. I say, oh, it's stated in the books. Do you know about UPC? Have you heard about them? Did you heard about the Marquisas, the headquarters and all that? Those were the UPC people who wanted true independence for French Cameroon and were, through the help of France, Aïdjo decimated them, pretended that there was to be some truce, some peace. Their fighters came out of the bushes, some were hiding in then autonomous southern Cameroons, and they came out and they were all wiped out. They were killed, massacred. I asked him, do you find any of that in our history books? He said no. So he started thinking. And those are the things that, unfortunately, we have never known about our country, about the Federal Republic of Amazonia, like Southern Cameroons, until 2016, 2017, where there was the SCBC TV, the first Amazonian TV that was briefing us about all this. We used to hear about people like Albert Mokong, prisoner without a crime, and other activists, and the SCNC people who every 1st October would stage a protest. And we used to say, well, God, we are peaceful here in Cameroon, one of the only two bilingual countries in the world, just like Canada. Why do these people want? Do they want war? We have it very well here. We were so naive. Later did we know that that was our history, part of our history, very important part that was deliberately being kept away from us. And even the La Republique people, they do not know their history. Deliberately, they do not. Because those today in power who actually were there 50 years ago, 60 years ago, I mean, diaper wearing 90-year-olds who are still in power today, they know exactly what happened then and have been lying to everybody. So now we are here to write that and then put things into perspective and go into the right direction. And talking about that dam and all that, there are a host of other things. I mean, UNVDA, about the rice that Ngoketunjia is famous for, or was famous for, and the government, the La Republic government, favoring the importation of rice, cheap rice from China, from wherever, and then killing the local market. There was Cas Bambili, which was to be a full-fledged university with equipments which were actually there, and everything was set. But up till today, nothing came out of it. Those equipments are there, full of rust, and that is just how that situation has been stagnated and dead. Nothing new. You see, professor, doctors in economics and everything, and politics going year by year for how many decades today to give what they call motion de soutien every year to the president, bow down before him and say, yeah, well done, this and that, whereas they know the truth. But that is how that system is. You don't challenge the leadership. In Amazonia, we have our common law. We have that system of indirect rule that the British came up with. We have the duty and the right to challenge the authority and then bring them to account. Our leaders are the servants of the people, not the lords over them, like in La Republique. So that is the big difference that is there. And us in the Ethics Commission, we are doing our best to see to it that that sinks into every Amazonian, from the greatest to the least, from the least to the greatest, that everybody knows their rights. They know the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, know the Code of conduct code of ethics, and then nobody can tell you any nonsense. No leader can bully you, and you have your right to question everybody in power. That is what in La Republique is lacking and has been like that for 60 years. I don't think in the next 20, 30 years anything will really change much. So it is us Ambazonia who, through our independence quest, are even opening up their eyes and then changing things there. So we are staying the course and going to Boya. And today we are drafting Ngoketunjia, come one, come all, and then let us help our restoration forces finish the job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndola. You have just touched on some of the things that we may not even need to repeat them. As I speak to you right now, a multitude of Amazonians from every county and LGA, they are logging in into the Zoom. We already have images coming in from the Zoom, and they're excited. One of the reasons they're excited is because of what the bravery of the young stars coming up in Ngoketunjia and the pride that Ngoketunjia as a county has given to Ambazonia for the past 2 years. And I will get back to you, Dr. Ndola, and then the ladies will come back to ask some questions to the both of you before we all transition fully into the Zoom. You are vice chairperson of the Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. And I know you personally as an individual of very high ethics. Now, we've had discrepancies, divide, controversies popping up from the Ngoketunjia County. We have a fighter that has been encouraged and enhanced and built and furnished. I'm talking about No Pity. He's been making the news, but furnished by the interim government. And there is some disagreement when it comes at the level of defense. I may not want you to talk about defense since it is not your expertise, but how do you carry this ethics, this um, conduct, or to instill ethics within your county and to ensure that as Ambazonians are drafting, we are not going to draft today and start wasting time and resources to bring together those Bazonians. I'm talking about the youngsters, the Sagon, the No Pity, and all the brave young girls and boys to bring them together, but to focus on winning the enemy, not focusing on dividing and killing each other. Please, Dr. Ndula, speak to us real quick.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We will start first of all by valuing the sacrifices of all our restoration forces, wherever they stand. They are fighting for our independence and fighting, first of all, to stay alive, to defend themselves and their families. But that said, there are things which are not to be tolerated, things that are not permissible. Even during war, you don't turn your weapon against your own brother and expect the leadership to look the other way or to smile with you and say everything is okay. I mean, the young man you talked about, I mean, Nobiti started as a wonderful, formidable soldier. I mean, he rightfully earned all the titles he had up to Field Marshal, where he is now. But unfortunately, I mean, things turned out differently. And yeah, if there is this some sort of other chain of command in which he and others are involved, then that brings about some infighting. So we have now our Field Marshal Sagon, who has been doing a very good job, deserves his title and everything. I mean, we funded most of them, including, I mean, No Pity, who today is, well, we don't really know exactly where he stands, but we know definitely he is not really for this interim government under this leadership structure. And the defense of Ngoketunjia is doing a good job in doing some containment and seeing to it that only restoration forces that are loyal to the to their LGA, their counties, and to the Commander-in-Chief, President Sako, are funded. It is unfortunate that there are such things that happen, but I trust our defense team that they are up to the task. We've had such problems also before, but not like now, where the coup plotters, the enablers, have come up to really support such things, such very unethical things, behavior. I mean, you will see that those coup plotters, those who claim they have some parallel structure somewhere, they have broken one or two or many of our ethical rules to be where they are today. So it's no surprise they will gang up with such fighters who are there to fight more against their own brothers than the evil killers, La Republique forces who are there killing and looting and raping our people by the day. So we pray that all of that stops. We are working towards that. Some of them are realizing themselves and coming back, but much uh, still to be done. So we are pleading on everybody to come draft massively for Ngoketunjia and help our brave restoration forces do their job and stay alive and help their families also, and our prisoners and our refugees. So I think, I mean, if someone from the defense was here, or the SOS for defense, the able chairman Amos, they would say more about this. So I think that's what I can say about them. And I mean, from the Department of HSS in Ngoketunjia under Makaro is doing a wonderful job in taking care of our wounded fighters, of our widows, our orphans, in conjunction with the Department of Women Affairs, which is also very, very active in that respect. So my regards to them, and keep up with the good job.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tom. I think you've done really well in that discussion. Perhaps the SOS would want to say something in that delight.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I thank you, Dr. Ndula. Again, I probably want to take this occasion to congratulate you for the excellent programs that you'll be able to deliver to the Amazonian people on ethics. I think ethics is the core of our liberation struggle, and it is a vision of our new country, a new government, and we believe that when ethics is well understood by the population, by our institutions, I think we'll be a much better country than what it is right now. Now, again, just let me dovetail on what Dr. Ndula mentioned and to give it a much broader canvas. I think a few days ago, I sent out an audio promising them that I'm going to revisit this secret plan that Brigadier General Ozo, I don't know what the name is it Mvondo Simon has put into place, which is in full flight right now, and that is their last hope. I feel that I'm just going to give you a little and a tip of the iceberg. More information will be brought to you once I corroborate some of the facts I have as of now. This is the plan. This is the plan of the Mvondo, Simon, and a takeoff from what Banqui started by befriending Cristiano and creating the so-called Marianta Group. And the idea was that eventually they will make Cristiano the president, and Cristiano will go around the world, wherever, talking about unity. And obviously that unity, they believe, is going to be the group to negotiate with La Republique. This is their plan. And you can see that as we speak, there is some phantom election going on. And I think they're already tearing each other apart. I don't want to comment as to what the outcome will be, but according to Banqui and Vondo Simon, Chris Ano should be their president. But there's something else which people don't understand. La Republic thinks that if they're going to go to negotiate, they have to bring the person they have to negotiate with. You remember that I told you that La Republic always wants to negotiate with itself. And they believe that they'll just go somewhere and say, no, I will not negotiate with Dr. Sako. I want to negotiate with Crisano. And to them, that is perfectly fine. They fail to understand that all they want from them is to send their representative to the Swiss-led process, and Ambazonia will send its own. It's not about choosing the person we want to negotiate with. That's not the point. I don't know why La Republic has this insane, I don't know, this attitude in them that they are going to choose the person to negotiate with. Have we chosen the person to negotiate on the side of La Republic? No, we don't care. Let them send their team of experts. We will bring our team of experts because Sako is the principal. Let them take out the wax from their ears and listen very carefully. Sako is the principal. If they show up in Geneva with Chris Ano, they will be on the same side. If they want to negotiate between them as to what platform they'll take when they come to Swiss negotiating process, that is fine. It is legal. But let them not think that when they come to Switzerland, they'll be negotiating with Crisano. They'll be negotiating with Dr. Sako. He is the principal. So this idea that they have this plan, where supposedly they've hired all these Ambazonian spies so that they're going to disrupt us, they're going to kill all or most of our leaders, and then Chris Ano will rise up to be the champion of Ambazonia and will go to Geneva and negotiate with them. It's almost like a child's play. It sounds so sophomoric that I don't even have words to describe it with. That is the great plan of La Republique. The plan put together by the brains of La Republique, how they are going to disrupt this process and somehow fool the entire world that Chris Ano is the choice of the Ambazonians. Over to you.
That is a botched plan because the man in question is a flop of himself. I wish I had a much better word, but I'm sure Dr. Ndula wouldn't want us to even talk much about that for now. And I want Amazonians listening and watching right now to understand the reason the Secretary of State for Communication, take note, he is the man in charge of communication. So he knows information that he brings during such a time and that he knows will impact those who are stakeholders and that will be drafting this evening. Dr. Ndula, you may want to chip in on that, and I'll be glad if you do so from your own perspective. We're connected on Zoom, and I want to ensure that it is being highlighted for those watching on Zoom to follow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Well, I mean, talking about the former Secretary of Communication, he once did a good job for Ambazonia. I'm afraid today he's backtracking and practically erasing all that good work that he has been doing. I mean, he was the voice of this of our revolution, and as aspired went up and then fell from grace by wanting to be somebody that he is not. Let's remember for the record, as our former president Sisiko Ayuk Tabe was abducted and almost all of his cabinet, and a new leadership was to be elected. There was now President Sako. There was, I think, one other person, I've forgotten the name, and then there was Chris Ano as one of the aspirants. And he woefully lost to President Sako since that time. I believe he has not been quite, he has not really gotten over that. We could see it within the cabinet, how he was, I mean, mostly insubordinate, and he would bring out messages purportedly from the government, from the interim government, that the cabinet and especially the president knows nothing about, and will have to backtrack on all of that and give out the right information. And even when problems arise, and he knows where to take those problems to the Ethics Commission, he will bypass the institutions. He has been invited many times, refused to come, and was fond of bullying his subordinates. So he bypassed us with the case he claimed to be having with Ma Aringwa. I mean, Ma Aringwa, as I will put it, she has done a great job for this revolution, is still doing it. And right now, today in Ngoketunjia, together with Nijo Akombe, in the, as resource mobilizers, I would characterize her in the words of Patasang, who said she's the goose that lays the golden egg for Ambazonia in fundraising. So yes, somehow some problems was there with her. I mean, and what were those problems? My Irene insisted that for ABC TV to be drafted again, as Chris Arnold was still the head of ABC, that they will have to account first of all for what was drafted last time, and then all hell broke loose, and so problems arose. He took up the case bypassing the Ethics Commission and went to the defunct Restoration Council, where his accomplices were. And were like-mindedly, they have been trying all they could to unseat President Sako and topple this interim government. And through violating all sorts of ethical rules, all sorts of institutions, bypassing this and that, going to such an to the defunct Restoration Council, it now became a problem between him and the president and the cabinet. He was indicting the president, indicting the cabinet. So all of that, and then the former VP2 unfortunately joined the ranks. So we see how he came about to where he is today, not with good methods, not with ethical, not with not on an ethically smooth path. So it's no surprise that, I mean, La Republique will try to cozy up to such a person and his group, and try to pass through them to topple this revolution. And I mean, to them all, the enablers and those who claim they are having a parallel structure, even if I want to tell something to them, even if you say you are right in what you are doing, look at the consequences. You are fractioning the leadership of our struggle. Not that you are really doing it. I mean, they are insignificant as compared to the people's interim government, but in the eyes of the onlookers, those who are to grant us independence, those who are looking for the slightest opportunity to deny us our independence again, they are seeing you people as working for the other side. If you say you're not working for La Republique, but what you are doing is exactly what they are aspiring for, bringing, trying to bring down the interim government, seeing nothing good in it, and sponsoring fighters who are turning their weapons against their own brothers. That's exactly what the Republic is doing. So by their fruits you shall know them. So that is exactly what they are doing. If they didn't know it, they should open their ears and listen good, and then better turn around now before it's too late. And it's not us in the diaspora whose lives are on the line, but those back home who daily are facing the bullets. Those are the lives you people are putting in danger when you claim that there are parallel structures there and that there are parallel chains of commands that our brave fighters have to listen to. That is not only dangerous, that is life threatening, and it costs lives on ground zero. That is what we do not want. So no matter how Amazonian you are and how good you are and how much fire is burning inside of you for the independence quest, we value the lives of each and every Amazonian, especially our brave restoration fighters, and we will not want anything to happen to them on top of what the evil Republic is already doing to them. So please stop what you are doing. If you claim you are leaders, a leader has a quality, must have that quality to be able to sit down and talk and negotiate and come to an agreement. And if you claim you want to be a leader today and, of course, tomorrow in Amazonia, where do you think we will all be? In one parliament, in one building, sitting around one common table and talking. So you are exhibiting qualities of La République, who years back, as the ADF, the SDF party, wanted to talk about the Northwest Southwest crisis. 75 to 80% of the parliament comprised of CPDM people, RDPC people, walked out of that parliament. So that's exactly what these leaders are now doing. So, I mean, it looks somehow immature and infantile to be claiming you are leaders, but you don't want to talk with others people. I mean, we are extending hands. It's like, I mean, having been extending hands since the time of former President Sisiko Ayuk Tabe to ADF of Joe Ayaba and all that, and
Yeah.
Kwangas, and up till today, they didn't want to talk. Of course, they
Yeah,
had a fake
and something
union.
that is vital about this cycle of the same people wanting to force themselves on the peoples of Amazonia. I'm happy that you highlighted prior to this draft. In fact, I want to say the draft has already started. As we're speaking now, those already in the Zoom link, they're watching us do this communication. The counties and LGAs have been drafting. The vice president is seated. The office of the president has been connected. They're watching us really talking. And I'm happy that you said when there was an election, President Sako won him and he was a candidate. And it was a constitutional election. For those who think we're avoiding election, no, we are avoiding a constitutional unconstitutionality. That's what we're avoiding, not elections. And if Amazonians as a collective really think that during a wartime there will be an election, then that no government will fight that. But when Coopers were told sometime last year that they should prepare for the All Amazonia Stakeholder Strategic Conference and present their questions so that the peoples of Amazonia will decide the way forward, they avoided it, despised it, and were trying to steal money from our accounts. There's a lot that we can talk before we all step into the Zoom and forget this pre-draft show. We're going to talk about issues of schools. Dr. Professor Epote and myself and Undaunted will be handling that on Monday. And Secretary of State for Communications and IT will enforce on that on Tuesday. We need to tell you the interim government's position when it comes to schooling in Amazonia. We also understand that there are a lot of topical issues that have come up even today with certain individuals, Tontus, Burmese, purportedly wanting to interrupt our civil disobedience against the forces of occupation by claiming that their businesses are being destroyed, that the SOS has already handled. But right now, we have 5 minutes for Undaunted Crew, for the ladies, to present their questions to you, Dr. Ndula, and to the SOS, and then we will wrap it up from there. We'll go into the Zoom. Perhaps I'd like to just flash to those watching us on Facebook. Right after that, I'm going to take a call. Yeah, we have just 5 minutes for the ladies right now to come in and to ask their question. But I want to just flash the images on the Zoom now on the screen for those watching on Facebook to actually see how people are logging in. Like I said, the draft has already begun. There have been people are drafting already in their counties. As you can see, the Zoom is you can see the SOS Frank Chinye of self-defense right there. You can see Nijo and Chairman Amos Tumenta is locked in. Ambazonians that are watching us, we'll be stopping this stream on Facebook and on YouTube by 9:30 because we want to ensure that everybody goes on Zoom. The draft is taking place on Zoom, and we will come back live when the Vice President of the Federal Republic will be talking. He's going to specially address the nation today before ushering in the president, and we've made arrangement for all of that. So we are connected. Everything is moving smoothly. While you patient, sirs, let me just hand over to the ladies. They have been following your interviews very closely. Let me hand over to them, and then they'll ask, I think, one question each to both of you, and then we will move into the Zoom. I want to usher in Undaunted, Onye, and Star right now.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ta, and special thanks to Dr. Martins Mungwa and also Dr. Ndula. Thank you so much for coming on Undaunted tonight. All right, so since we are moving into the draft proper, you know, several counties have been coming and they've been drafting huge amounts. Yesterday, when we had SOS Francis Chin, that was on Thursday, by the way, when we had Francis SOS Chin in the studio, he was assuring us that the draft this night will be super big because Ngoketunjia has a process that they draft, which includes some kind of tax as well. And so it's amazing that we have great sons of Ngoketunjia here in the studio this night. And, he also emphasized on the fact that the money would be the biggest. I mean, the amount that will be realized this night would definitely be the biggest. I mean, Dr. Martin Mungwa, you are here. Now, do you also think that the capacity that Ngoketunjia has would definitely overthrow all other drafts that has been done this night? I mean, this is supposed to also pull strings on those that are supposed to draft this night so that they can draft big. Do you believe the weight and the capacity of Ngoketunjia this night?
Oh, okay. Yes, I got your question. Whether you want to hear from me that the capacity to draft today will be bigger than the others. Obviously, I'm extremely optimistic about Ngoketunjia whenever it is draft time. And I know that Ngoketunjia has a lot of friends, both within Ngoketunjia and without. And I am, of course, very optimistic about it. Um, I believe that with the information that the interim government has delivered to the Ambazonian people to give the reason why we have to draft today, it should be sufficiently clear to them that this is an existential war, and we know the role that Ngoketunjia ARFs have done in the past. So I am extremely optimistic, and I think that's where I want to I want to end. I'm very optimistic. I know that when Ambazonians can afford, they will give. When they can afford, they will give. They take the extra mile to make sure that they do something to our restoration forces. So today, I will do something extra to what I've already done. I have drafted already, but I'm not going to stop here. So as an example, I'm going to chip in something additional to add on to the draft that I already fulfilled about a month ago. Over to you.
And you wouldn't want us to have a sound of what it may be, would you want us to have a sound of what it may be? Because while we are waiting for everyone to get logged into the Zoom, people need to be. Should we use the word that they use in the local parlance, gingered? People want to be motivated to do extra. You might want to just give us a sound if that wouldn't be out of place before Dr. Ndula comes in to tell us probably the amount that this county would be given to us this night. Dr. Martin Munga, would you want to?
Yes, I am going to draft a total of $1,500, and that is what I'm going to do. And I believe that I will probably provide additional funding in other areas, not just drafting. We have our Wounded Warriors program, which I really take dear to my heart. I'm going to also chip in to that program, which is outside the draft, so it's not going to appear today. I also work with the widows of the those wounded, or the soldiers who have been killed. I also give money to that program. So I just want to tell you that it's not just the draft that, especially some of us in the cabinet, participate in. There are other little projects that come after that, and we all make sure that we give something. So today, my total draft, for this year will be $1,500. I have already paid my levy for the entire year to Ngoketunjia. I've done so, and I am also will be pursuing the program of the Wounded Warriors, the widows of the soldiers who've been killed. I am also going to make sure that I give money to those little programs. So I just want to let you know that our participation is beyond just the draft. Over to you.
All right. This is huge. This is huge. I mean, we are doing this for every one of us, and so you can imagine the passion that came of Dr. Mungwa when he was referring to those Bamis that were protesting because they had been paid. How much? But then let's leave that aside. Let's just focus on the draft. All right, Dr. Ndula. What are your expectations this night? SOS Che feels like we're going to draft over 100,000 US dollars, and also Nijo SOS Nijo thinks so too. What are your expectations this night? Dr. Ndula, to you, please.
Yes, thank you, Onye and staff, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, thank you both for your wonderful job you are doing, ABC Amber TV, both professionally and Amazonianly, I would say. So keep up the good work. But yeah, I share the same sentiments like the others. We will definitely hit over $100,000. That's what I'm expecting. Also, there is a system that we have in Ngoketunjia. All the executives at the LGA level, the county level, everybody having any position in the local, county, or federal government is automatically drafted. And it's a sizable number, so there are others who will come onto that also. So I'm optimistic that the draft will be high, over $100,000. Let's not forget there are things which push us to go above our limits, and as we had ASSC2 in the US, people were donating money. They were drafting, saying, I mean, out of anger, what has happened with the coup plotters and all that. And this time we in Kutunja, we also have some fire under our belt. We are drafting also with some anger. We see what these coup plotters, these enablers have done to our county, and trying to woo away some fighters to turn them against their own brothers. Luckily, that is very, very limited. So we are drafting extra this time. And I mean, just like Dr. Mungwa me drafting my $1,000 would add some sizable amount on top of that also, because we want to see this succeed. We know, apart from us who are really into this struggle, others are not really coming in some other time soon. So if something more is needed, it has to come out, it has to come from us. So we have to dig deeper into our pockets to make that happen. And I mean, I'm confident my people in Ngoketunjia, we are ready to do that. And all our well wishers and friends who are also coming to help us draft will help push us above that 100K level.
And Dr. Mungwa too, thank you. I believe that's like what Dr. Mungwa said he contributed is about 50% more than what he's expected to do. And that just shows a lot of passion put into this drafting, especially for this weekend's draftee, Ngoketunjia. Where a lot has been said in the course of the news, but I think those, and I've got a lot of questions, especially from the start of Dr. Mungwa's speech, but then we hope to dissect that in the course of other news. And for the draft, we've gotten Dr. Mungwa's expectation. I don't think there would be anything else because they have already been dealt with by our news director, Third Party King. I think this is where we draw the curtain from here.
All right, but let's get back to Mr. Ta and get to hear what he thinks and his expectation from the draft as well. Mr. Ta, over to you.
Okay, we back. Dr. Ndula and the SOS are still here. We also have Ochiba Nelson online. He's been trying to make a contribution, perhaps to inspire stakeholders on what the draft of tonight will be all about. I want to be sure that he has some sound so that I can get him connected and to make this call. I believe he can hear me, but I want to try to give him some sound so that he can. I think he has a contribution or a question to ask to you, particularly Dr. Mungwa, based on some of the declarations you made here this evening. So we are having him here. Nelson Ochiba, can you hear me? I think you're connected now.
Yes, Director.
Yeah, just speak. Everybody is listening to you. Just talk, and Amazonians can hear you now.
So, greetings to SOS, Dr. Mungwa, Dr. Ndula, and undaunted women who are there doing doing their best to educate our Amazonian people, to motivate everybody. So, I want to call on all Amazonian people that our freedom, we need to form it by ourselves. That is why all of us, we need to go to Ngoketunjia and to other counties and make sure we form the revolution. We are not going to get tired until we reach Oya. Because if we say we are the never again generation, it means that we have to go right to our own destination. So I think that all the LGAs should be activated, because this month that is coming is September. The Republic and the United Nations representative in Central Africa, they have already created their speeches that they are going to go and lie the world, international community, that there is no mercy, life is coming back to normal, there is just nothing happening. So how can we counter this thing? We can do it by action on the ground. We can do it by having Amazonians who stand for the restoration of our independence, who are in the United States of America, particularly and East Coast. They go and demonstrate at the United Nations premises. They go there and demonstrate. And I also want to caution all fronts that when they say a return to normalcy doesn't mean that people go bring back their compounds. It doesn't mean that people But it doesn't mean that people will only go and clean back their compound, they open schools, whatsoever. Normalcy means that when there is war, there is chaos. When there is war, there is sadness. So when you people, you go all over Amazonia, you are organizing interquartal competition, you are playing football, you play all those things. It comes with happiness. And La Republic infiltrate us, all those things, they take those images and they go out and tell the international community, about 3 years ago, when we want to organize a football competition here. Even if it is coming from a quarter head or whatsoever, a cultural development association, there are things we are not supposed to do when you are bereaved. When you are bereaved, you need to be sad. You don't need to go about dancing. You don't need to go about drinking and jubilating. Because that one is what they call the sense of normalcy. You are coming back to your normal life. So many people, we have had same images, people organizing tournaments this way. Okay, ask yourself, why is it that before 2016 they did not organize such tournaments? People are organizing tournaments, they are doing clubbing, beaches, they go everywhere, they play high music in bars and everything. And you expect the international community to come to help you. You expect the international community to come and help you because those images, like people take them, the international community will not take them. People are happy. It's just, I mean, some ruthless guys who are in the forest trying to do these kind of things. So there are certain things we need to in order to attract international sympathy. To attract international sympathy. So this one is for all our people on one front. Yes, you see, American people they are now demonstrating that they want to protect. What is the business? Who creates business? Business is created by a man. People will do business today, they fall, they go back, they try one time, two, three, four times, they go. But if they come and kill one person, that person is not, even if you have any more children, they are not going to have the same fingerprint like the person who died. So there are certain things that our people back home need to understand. All these things that people come here, they say, the English, they come and lie you, forces, they give you money, bribe you, say, okay, brother, take this one in your pocket, put it in your pocket. You are fighting in the also fighting outside there, so that whatever thing will come, will take it. Because I heard even some people say that, oh, they are bringing this, so that even you want to respect it. No, we need freedom. We need a free country, a country on our own. So our Amazonian people, if you think believe that there are certain things we need to avoid and we need to sacrifice a lot of those things. I understand that the and all the rest, you have, we have already signed a deal with the devil, with the public to come and infiltrate, demoralize our people. Let all the restoration forces know that if you attended them, even for 50 minutes or 10 seconds, the only way for you to remain alive is to fight and free our all of you people, like they did with those who did the coup d'etat in 1984. So I call on all the Nigerian people to come on board. If you claim that okay, people don't manage money very well, go and draft and then you do which is what we are looking for. All the countries should be activated. We don't want to hear only Ngoketunjia or Mayu or Mafe. All the countries, and we have to hold all the country chairpersons, all the agents. We are capable. If they are not working, they need to come out and speak so we know they are still with us. Whether you are with us or you are against us. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. Ochiba said a lot in his usual style and with a lot of information. He mentioned many things. SOS, the catchword there, or the catchphrase there was either you are with us or against us. Before I hand over the mic to you, we try to conclude this statement and get everyone locked on into the Zoom. I want to thank the ladies for the recap of the news this week and for assisting in this pre-draft show. As always, please talk to us. Either you're with us or against us. I think everyone will dig into his mind there is a philosopher who said, I think Pluto said it's not right to think what's in a person's mind, but I think it's right to analyze a person's what, fill in the gaps. When you hear Ochibanesi talking to us about persons going to parties, dancing on the pool, because the international community will have to send in some of those images. He's saying so maybe because of those who purportedly are Amazonians and are not joining with our people for their times of suffering. I'm not talking about people having holidays, that's something different. But talking about people sponsoring football match for thousands of millions in different countries, and they are unable to furnish the Amazonian restoration forces. We're in an evening where we want to prick into the consciences of stakeholders to ensure that something is done. So SOS, talk to us. Either you are with us or you are against us. Dr. Tom Dula, and you will repeat them.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
I wish to commend UN for making that statement. Um, this conflict has so many moving parts in the sense that the perception from different angles are interpreted differently. It is true that if you see the amount of wastage that some Amazonians uh, uh, get into, uh, issues that are totally not related to our struggle, and yet they can see visibly that things are not right back home, I think it's a tragedy. One of the uh, areas where I've been very vocal, because I have quite a good number of friends across Amazonia who come from the different so-called elite schools, Sigard College, CPC Bali, Sase College, St. Beats, and so on and so forth. It is quite amazing that we felt that the intent of having these schools was to train Amazonians so they can rise up and defend the weak and defend those who do not have opportunity. However, unfortunately, we've discovered that a good number of them, don't really care. They do not really care. Um, I have made complaints in different fora, and I've had quite a good number of people who support my view. And I think the lessons learned will be when we actually have our country back, and then we're gonna see how these people will behave, whether they'll come jubilating or they will come and said, I know I did not participate. I'm ready to pay my fair share of whatever led to uh, our liberation. But again, when you look back in history and you look at the American Revolution, you realize that it may not be that different. I mean, from all the data that we were able to collect, about 15 to maybe 20% supported the revolution, 30% were ignorant. There wasn't so much on on that side. And obviously, we know what the outcome was. So, even having made that observation, I'm still extremely hopeful, and not only hopeful, I'm very, very certain that we are going to go to the finish line. And given the fact that we do have some international partners, I don't know if the Americans had that many international partners. The only one I could remember, probably Morocco, that instantly recognized American independence. And you can see they have a very strong relationship to today as a result of that early recognition. So I am very certain that regardless of what happens internally, I think we've gotten to that critical point where this revolution cannot just die a natural death. It cannot die. So long as there are people like Dr. Ndula and others, people like you, Mr. Paddy, people like the ABC team and the interim government and all the ambassadors and the restoration forces who are all looking in the same direction, I am very, very certain that we are going to go to the finish line. So I'm going to discard all the tiny little stories, in between, what people are doing here and there. I'm looking at the big picture. That's the big picture that consoles me. Whenever there is a need for something, somebody rises up and takes the challenge. And that's what has been happening since this revolution started. I'm going to end it there. Over to you, Paddy.
Yeah, thank you very much, SOS. Dr. Dola, please, maybe you want to talk on that same issue so that we can
Yes, yes.
officially hand it over to
Mhm.
um, we can officially hand over to those on the Zoom link. They are watching us now. Yeah, they have been unable to get a sound. If I made a co-host, I could help them get some sound there. Just talk on that. Let's
Yes.
hand it over to the Zoom and close this first section of our
Yes.
broadcast.
Thank you, Paddy. I'll make it very short. I mean, what Dr. Mungwa said is very right. Many of our classmates who went to this, well-to-do schools, to these elite schools, either they don't want to know, or they are so have been fed with golden spoons and have privileged positions inherited and want to pass it on to their children that they will not want to rock the boat and cozy up with La Republique and doing everything to maintain the status quo. Deep within them, they know that what is going on is not right. They know what the right thing is. And I'm always surprised that, I mean, talking with doctors, professors, learned people who have trotted the globe, who should know it better, that from their own country of origin, they would deliberately not want to know something about it, about their history, and then know that things have happened and we are where we are because things happened the wrong way, and there are consequences when you know the truth. Once you know the truth, then you are obliged to go by it, to handle according to that truth. So we are here today. We know it is the truth. Ambazonia was once a nation and will be a nation again. I mean, practically we've restored our independence and we're going back that route. This, for me, is the last fight and the most important fight of my life that I intend to win, and we are winning it. So it's just a matter of time. And just come to think of it, there is nothing you can do than being honest. When you're honest to yourself, then you must join in this fight. It is easy to just follow the crowd and then pretend like everything is okay and look the other way around while people are being killed back home every day. 40,000 plus counting since 5 years. So we have to stop this carnage. We have to get the message out there and then say, hey, something is happening there which is greater than what is happening in Ukraine. And our people are dying on a massive scale and people are not really paying attention. So we are the ones to put that information out and then push so that the world stands at attention and then grant us what we deserve. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ndula, for that great recap there and conclusion. I understand those that were watching on Zoom for some time have suffered. If they were not following on Facebook or YouTube, they suffered some sound. I want to believe the sound has been managed now. Thank you, Nijo, for granting me co-host. I want to believe that the sound has been fixed. If it has been fixed, just give me a message on the chat so I can confirm that before we conclude the show. We've discussed a lot of things, given a lot of reasons why stakeholders will have to draft Ngoketunjia, not just because of what Ngoketunjia is or means to Ambazonia, but also because of the stakes involved. Every day, the behavior of the belligerent occupation of French Cameroon tells us that we have one way out, and it is to fight for our freedom. Every other method that has been employed before now for 60 years has failed. But a draft just for 3 years or I wouldn't say 2.5 years, seems to be working best than any other strategy. We would have to stop listening to those who are taking us behind, those who think that we should neutralize a government and give them comradeship that is pre existing or that has already existed. Those who think that we should neutralize anything that has to do with a government and make a revolutionary council. Dr. Mungwa, give that last statement to that person that is contemplating, but why should I draft for this war and why should I draft for Ngoketunjia? You have the privilege as the Secretary of State for Communication and the due reverence to talk to Ambazonians with that last statement. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Paddy. I hope we really turn over to the main program because it's getting a little bit late. I think we've made it sufficiently clear that how important God Kutunja is to this struggle or to this revolution. And I mean, there's nothing more I can tell you. You've been listening from the beginning of this program. You realize that we've put in so much energy, we've put in so much time. We've made sure that everybody is educated. We've had a lot of people sending out audio messages to the entire community so that we can come today. So that's all I have for you. Let's turn over to the Zoom crew or to the uh, um, mobilization team to proceed with this draft. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mungwa. Ambazonians are logging in. Ambazonians are logging in. As you can see, the Zoom, we are fast getting towards 100. And I'm asking all those that are watching us on YouTube now and on Facebook to rush into the Zoom link. The Vice President is there. I understand the Office of the President. The President is locked in. We're requesting that you log in and you log in into the Zoom and participate right now. Whatever participation you have to make this evening, the time is now for Ngoketunjia. The time is now for General Saigon, who is making us all proud. I'm just flashing the images of the Zoom to you watching at the home front. We will be streaming live whatever activity is taking place to the home front, but we will stop the streaming on Facebook and YouTube in a few minutes to ensure that everyone joins us on the Zoom so that we can have this. Thank you all, Secretary of State. Thank you all, Chairman, for being a part of this discussion. Right now, let's talk a little bit more on what is happening to Ngoketunjia. Yes, Amazonians are logging in to the Zoom meeting and we requesting you all to be a part of it. Log into the Zoom right now.
Bela ngeti makbeli tueshi anje makapu kaka pati mesika tena ako yenya lola nyanya lo ko bu ndongen tushi kare maka mendi na
Special dedication to all the sons and daughters from Ngoketunjia. We never thought to go on the podium. Let's go! Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. We have rice, corn, groundnut, indom, UNBDA for Usa Uday. Tungondeka, the right time is around, brothers. We should stand and speak with one voice. Tungondeka, the right time is around, brothers. We should stand and speak with one voice. For so many years we have been living in darkness. Now it is time for concrete action. For so many years we have been living in darkness. Now it is time for concrete action. Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. To all the sons of Ngoketunjia, we need dialogue and not war. We are handsome, beautiful and intelligent, but there is no progress in Ngoketunjia. We are handsome, beautiful and intelligent, but there is no progress in Ngoketunjia. Our culture should be very well protected for the interest of future generations. Our culture should be very well protected for the interest of future generations. So, Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. Ngoketunjia, my dear forefathers' land, is a land where milk and honey flows. We need people with liberal ideas and not conservatives. We need servants and not masters in Ngoketunjia.